Well, welcome into the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining me today. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Groundhog Day. If you're into that kind of thing, yeah, the groundhog saw his shadow. So in theory, I guess we're kind of screwed, right? I mean, it is Groundhog Day. Imagine that. Yes.
That's right, woodchuck chuckers. It's Groundhog Day!
Yeah. And you know what? With recruiting and everything else, Groundhog Day makes a lot of sense. I mean, it really is the same thing pretty much every year.
Well, it's Groundhog Day. Again?
Yeah. You essentially have, the same top 10 classes, 10 schools that are in the mix pretty much every year. And the question is that you have the interesting set of it where if you look at the 247 Sports composite rankings, it's essentially the same thing pretty much every year. You'll have some guys that'll go a little bit forward, some teams that'll go a little bit forward, some teams that'll go a little bit faster or backwards. As English is hard for me today. But Texas A&M finished with the number one recruiting class of all time. So there's that. Realistic one is right. The rich get richer. If you're a fan of, and please don't think that I'm mocking you Kentucky fans, because I'm not, okay? But when I look at a team like Kentucky, who has a good coach, who's put some money into their program. Kentucky this year is 12th in recruiting. A heck of a class for Kentucky, okay? Now, when you look back, though, they were 12th this year, fourth best ranking in the SEC. And I use them as an example because if you look back in 2021, they were 35th. In not to give you the complete history of it, but let's look back at one more season. In 2020, they were 25th. You have all of these Kentucky classes that are top 25, top 30. You end up having a great class, but you still finish 12th, and you essentially still have the same top 10 teams in the mix there. That is tough. Now, obviously, not every 4- and 5-star guy works out. We know that. We've documented that here on the show. But if you're a team like Kentucky, as Blake says, their best recruiting class in football history is good enough for 12th in the country, and the teams that you're trying to beat, the Georgias of the world, the Kentuckys of the world, not the Kentuckys, the Alabamas of the world that are above you, they're all still above you. You had your absolute best class ever, and it doesn't, in the grand scheme of things, yeah, you'll have some more talent. But in the end, it doesn't matter. Coach Nick Saban went off on NIL and recruiting. On ESPN, he says, I hear these crazy people on TV who say, now you're doing it above board. We never did it as far as getting kids. We never cheated to get a player. We never paid players to come to our school. And now that it's actually happening, people are making deals with high school players to go to their school. Saban went on to explain that schools with the most money will now sign the top classes and have the best chance to have the best team, and limited that it's no longer about developing compared to the money players can make. I disagree with you to an extent there, Coach Saban, even though you've won more games than I'll ever dream of even remotely beginning to even think about winning if I were a coach. But it is about development. And why is it about development? I give you the University of Kentucky, a team that hasn't been able to compete with you on the field, but they are moving their way up. You have to respect what Kentucky has done, and they're doing it with players that they're developing. Remember, last year, class was 35. Year before that, class was 25. They won 10 games this year. So I hate to be that guy, but Coach Saban's kind of a little off there. Now, on the other end, developing, as he calls it, is the only thing that's going to, in my opinion, separate the have-nots from the haves. If you don't have coaches that can halfway develop guys, you're going to have a problem. I mean, that's just the way that it is. I know that sounds like it's like a knock, knock, hello type thing, but not everybody. I do agree with him that bigger programs are going to get the more kids. I get that. But the same bigger programs are already getting them anyway. The programs that spent more money on assistant coaches and they spent and took the time to have better facilities and things like that, that draws kids. It does. But when you can take teams with lesser talent and develop them and make them better, that's the key. Blake says, and Saban can't speak to Alabama not cheating because they've been caught before. Exactly. Look, we said this on the program before. I think all programs, there are things that goes on that are not exactly of the NCAA rule book or in the NCAA rule book. It happens. I'm sorry. To sit here and now he can say that he doesn't know about it, but come on, man. Come on. Let's just slow down a little bit. 803-978-1832. I'll give you a quick rundown of the top classes here. And literally, it's going to sound like, once again.
Well, it's Groundhog Day. Again?
The Groundhog did see his shadow, by the way, and went back, and we're supposed to get 6 more weeks of winter. Why isn't somebody taking that Groundhog and made a nice pair of boots out of it before it actually sees its damn shadow? Just saying. Let's go from there on that. But right now, Texas A&M is at number 1. Alabama's at number 2. Georgia's at number 3. Ohio State is at number 4. Texas is at 5. Penn State's at 6. Notre Dame's at 7. Michigan's at 8. North Carolina's at 9. Oklahoma's at 10. Clemson is at 11. 12 is Kentucky. 13 is Mizzou. 14 is Miami. 15 is Tennessee. 16 is LSU. And then we can go on down the line from there. Florida has jumped up. They're now the 20th ranked recruiting class. They have moved up a good bit. Some other teams there. Florida State's at 19. Michigan State's at 22. Lane Kiffin's got Ole Miss in the top 25. South Carolina currently is at number 25. Now, South Carolina's class, you have to look at it from a perspective of, and I think they need to add this to the mix, but they've got 2 5-star players in that class. In, of course, Spencer Rattler and the tight end Stogner. Stogner may have been a 4-star. Either way, that should be added to the mix because the transfer portal is going to completely change the way things look. I think there's more. You're expecting more out of this Gamecock class that's coming in due to the fact that those 2 guys are there. And when we look back on this class 2 seasons from now, 3 seasons from now, be interesting to see how that class does. As Shane Beamer has gone the transfer route. So that's interesting. Some other stuff we can get into. Clemson did land a 4-star linebacker or lineman today as they get the young man, Caden Story, who had a relationship with Nick Eason, and he carries that over to Clemson. 4-star player from Lynette High School in Alabama, chose the Tigers over Auburn, which, Auburn's, I don't know. Someone's asking when TJ Dudley announces. I am working on that. I sent a text to somebody about that and see if we can find something out. So anyway, if you want to call up and talk about signing day, 803-978-1832. South Carolina did have some coaches that are, football staff that's leaving. Connor Shaw is leaving the program. He was like director of football operations. He is moving on to do something else. And Eric Kimmery, the legendary coach at Hammond High School before he went to coach for South Carolina, is also leaving the program. He's going to coach a school in North Carolina. the big thing with that is that it sucks to see, if you're a Gamecock fan, if you see some of these guys going. I mean, Eric Kimmery has the whole thing with the fade against Mississippi State when he threw that pass that you can, I know it sounds silly, but that's having some of that around so that young guys can see, hey, you can make big plays here at South Carolina. Having Connor Shaw there, who in my opinion is the best Gamecock quarterback that I've ever seen play. Now, I know Teddy Hefner, who's on from 9 to noon, will tell you that there are other guys that were probably better, but I'm talking about guys that I've physically seen play. Connor Shaw is probably the best. And for him to leave the program, I think that kind of hurts a little bit. But the coaching carousel, it continues to turn. Absolutely continues to turn. So we'll see who will be in there. Who's going to coach the tight ends for South Carolina? We're going to find out. As Shane Beamer, by the way, has been a guy that he's had to adapt on the fly. Remember, he dealt with the Bobo situation last year where he named him the offensive coordinator and then boom, he went to Auburn in the dark of night. You think Bobo regrets that now? Seriously. I wonder if Bobo steps back and is like, man, what did I do there? How could I possibly leave South Carolina like that? Or he probably doesn't care. Put on a hat. I'll support that school as long as they're paying me. Maybe that's the way that some coaches think. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832 is the number to call if you want to join us here on the rundown. Blake says Phil Petty doesn't get enough credit. Look, got a lot of respect for Phil Petty too, but Phil Petty, I mean, I don't think he was as good as Connor Shaw. I think he's number 2 on the books, behind maybe 3 behind Anthony Wright, who I think didn't really get, I don't know what the term to use for that. I think Anthony Wright could have achieved more, but you can make that argument with Phil Petty too, Blake. But I definitely am going with Connor Shaw. Let's go out to the phones, 803-978-1832. Welcome into the program. Good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon. All right, well, hopefully they'll call back. 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832. That is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the rundown. Of course, it is Groundhog Day, and it's National Signing Day. Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing every single year. Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, all those guys still in the mix. The 2 Texas schools, they always seem to have that top 10 recruiting class, but never quite get it done. And you know what? I've said a lot of things about Kirby Smart at Georgia. I'm going to give you this on Jimbo Fisher. Yes, he won a national title at Florida State. If you look at that Florida State team, though, he had a lot of, you could definitely say that he recruited off the coattails of Bobby Bowden. You can definitely say that. Now, he's gone to Texas A&M. They've given him everything he could possibly want as far as money and everything else. And this guy is a problem, meaning they're not really getting the most bang for their buck. And I know they have, quote unquote, the best recruiting class of all time, according to 247 Sports. But that little word that Coach Saban was talking about earlier, development, that's going to be a big thing with Texas A&M. They don't develop the best recruiting class in 247 Sports history into at least one national title. Don't you think that we have to look at Jimbo Fisher as a failure? Yeah, that's kind of the way you have to look at it. (803-978-1832). When you've got top-notch talent and all the money in the world at Texas A&M, he has not been a national championship caliber coach. And I know that everyone's going to tell me he's got to play Nick Saban every year. I get that. But you know what? There are teams that have to play Nick Saban, and they've won national titles. They absolutely have. Georgia won a national title this year. They beat Alabama to do it. There are other teams that have won too. LSU in the same division. They beat Alabama. They won a national title. So stop giving me this line of crap of you have to play Saban. That's part of the job. He knew that signing on to be the Texas A&M head coach. So I don't feel sorry for him. He makes crazy money. And you know what? For the folks that get upset with me for saying that, he gets paid a lot of money. He could take any rocks that I can throw at him from Columbia, South Carolina. 803-978-1832. Welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, Rob. Listen to you talking about the recruiting class at Clemson. Kind of disappointing.
All right, well, I'm going to get to that, but you go ahead and tell me why you think it's disappointing.
Because Dabo and the staff did not anticipate all the losses that they were going to have this year, and they came up probably 7 recruits short of what they should have had.
Okay. Is that 7? Are you talking about with players flipping and leaving?
With players leaving, yeah, they either didn't think about it or didn't care. It was one or the other.
All right.
Because this class was, and to only offer 4 running backs in the entire country is embarrassing. And then because the Andrew Paul, you miss on Trevor Etienne, you miss on him, and your fallback is Keith Adams Jr.
You can definitely say there's some nepotism rolling with some of that.
That's Michael Dukes coming in 2.0. He's not going to contribute anything to Clemson football.
Right. Well, Georgia recruits. Hold on. Let me stop you for just a second. It's kind of hard with any kid to determine if they're going to be able to do anything or not. And if we're going to talk about Clemson, Hunter Renfrow is going to play in the Pro Bowl this year, and he was not very well thought of coming out of high school.
Yeah, but they weren't banking on him having to play.
I mean, that's a fair point too.
He was a preferred walk-on. They weren't banking on him to do anything.
I don't think that Dabo Sweeney thought that who's the running back that transferred to West Virginia. I don't think he thought at the beginning of this.
Dixon?
Yeah, I don't think he thought that Lynn J. Dixon was going to transfer out and decide, hey, I want to go up there and play for the Couch Burners. I don't think Dabo Sweeney knew that.
They would have lost him anyway because he was a senior. He would have been done anyway.
Yeah.
He would have been gone anyway, no matter how you looked at it, whether he transferred or whether he graduated. He was gone.
But he would have gotten one more year out of him for next year.
He could have if he would have wanted to stay, but he might not would have wanted to stay. And, TJ Spiller has not done a very good job at recruiting.
Didn't he get Will Shipley to come there? He was part of that. He was definitely working with the staff, right?
Who working with the staff? That was Tony Elliott got that.
Well, when I look at the Clemson
running back coach,
when I look at the Clemson,
Tony Elliott.
That's true. When I look at the Clemson recruiting numbers, though, when you start, they're going to have this season a class that finishes probably in the top 10. And look, let me give you this. They're going to finish in the top 10. They're changing their offensive coordinator, their defensive coordinator, and their offensive line coach. All of that's completely changed out. And they're still going to finish with a top 10 class with 2 5-star recruits, one of them in Cade Klubnik, who they think is going to be an absolute game changer at quarterback. Now, obviously, you don't know until he gets on the field, but I think you should just hold off a little bit and let's see what these guys can do. Now, as far as depth and stuff like that goes, you can't really tell who's coming and going. I don't think that's fair. I mean, you just don't know. You know what I mean?
But you can kind of forecast that Michael Dukes was not going to be here this year. You can forecast that one of the tight ends were going to leave. You can forecast that one of the wide receivers are going to leave. You have to do that now. And they didn't do it.
Yeah.
Cole Turner.
I've got to go to a break, man, but I appreciate you listening. All right. Thank you so much. We'll talk more about that when we come back. This is The Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Yeah, I don't know. Look, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the caller there, but I think you need to look at what Clemson has. They have some recruits that are still out there that are still hanging out there. When you look at this is the 2019 class that finished number 10. Here are the guys from that class. Andrew Booth, who's going to be in the NFL. Frank Latson, Joe Nagata, Willie Putnam, Tyler Davis. Yeah, he's turned out to be pretty good. Tyson Fomachu ended up transferring out. Ches Malusi is the starting running back for Wisconsin. And we can go down the line from there. I think it's a little bit of shout out to my buddy Rich Long. It's a little bit of a doom and gloom type thing there. I really believe that. You gotta just stop and let the class come in and see what they can do on that front. And I'm preaching patience here, but the idea that this class is short, I don't get it. I just don't get it. Yeah, thank you there, Mr. Bean. If you guys could like the video. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, tonight, making his way all the way back from fighting the COVID, Carolina Jackpot will be joining me tonight for a podcast. Someone commented on the videos the other day that they love Carolina Jackpot, and they're just now getting to the point where they barely like me. Thank you for barely liking me. The guy said, see, there you go, being a nice guy again. I mean, heaven forbid. I mean, I've said some dumb things. I admit that. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining us today. Brandon online says, what do I think about the two running backs the Gamecocks brought in Wake Forest transfer? Christian Beal-Smith and Georgia transfer, Lavassier Carroll. Well, Lavassier Carroll was, we'll get into that in a moment. Let's take a phone call first. Welcome into the Rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, it's Big Barney Ross here. It's a great day to be a Kentucky Wildcat fan and live in the great state of Kentucky. It's Groundhog Day. It's a delicacy here.
Oh, hold on. It is Groundhog Day.
Well, it's Groundhog Day. Again?
Big Barney Ross, I have to ask, you live in the land of bourbon. Why have you not shipped me some bourbon down here for the show? Can you imagine this show if I was drinking some of that fine Kentucky bourbon that you get to sample all the time?
As it happens, I happen to have access to a lot of bourbon, like Weller's 12-year-old.
Well, then why in the blue hell have you not sent some down for to make this show a little bit spicier, sir? Do you not like the show?
Well, I love the show, and if you give me an address, I'll send you some.
Fair enough. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll send you a direct message. Anyway, at Rob sounds good. But anyway, go ahead with your call. Go
okay.
ahead.
All right. Well, it's a great day to be in Kentucky. I think the whole state is more excited about being rated 12th preseason than Georgia was when they won the national championship. And that's where we have evolved to. You got Alabama that expects to win. You got Georgia that's disappointed when they win. And Kentucky's on the rise. And after Big Hollywood's, prediction that we will not win the championship, I feel pretty optimistic here in Kentucky. And I'm going to get off here and leave you with this. Although it is a delicacy here, a fine groundhog and a good bourbon, think about it. Big Barney Ross, I'm out of here.
Yeah, good point. And I wonder what groundhog tastes like if you fry it. I'm betting it tastes like chicken. There's that old adage. But yeah, I think the groundhog, we should have made some groundhog boots and then had us some fried groundhog. I think that's why they do it up in Pennsylvania. They know if they bring it to the South, we're going to deep fry that thing. That's going to happen. Absolutely going to happen. 803-978-1832. Jay says there'll be a lot of hot grinding wrestling talk if Rob's on liquor. Yes, sir. Got a problem with that? You don't like wrestling? You don't like America? Wrestling is America, sir. If you don't like America, then we can put you on a boat, send you on your merry way. Daniel says he refuses to believe there is such a thing as a Kentucky football fan. Daniel, I just brought you one. Big Barney Ross calls the program all the time. He is a Kentucky football fan. Rumor has it our buddy Bluegrass Sports Media has met Big Barney Ross, and Big Barney Ross has, from what I'm told, a giant Kentucky football tattoo. I don't know if it's on the back of his head like Bluegrass Sports Media says, but he does have a tattoo is what I'm told. I don't know. Those Kentucky fans, they're different. Normally they go to a football game hoping a basketball game will break out. But finishing 12th in the country with your recruiting class that you've got right now, that's not bad. Not bad for the Kentucky Wildcats. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to call if you want to join us here on the rundown. Do you agree with Nick Saban that with the adage that the richer programs are going to take all the players and it's not about development anymore? Mr. Saban, yeah, the same classes are still up there in the top 25 or the top 10. So that's kind of out there. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to call. If you want to talk about the Gamecocks and how two members of the staff left, Connor Shaw and Eric Kimmery, both leaving the program, we could talk about that as well. 803-978-1832. B. Bean says you have to give Kentucky credit for doing better each year in football. Well, I wonder if Kentucky fans are going to get to the point where they're not necessarily like the fan base that thinks they're supposed to win all the time, but hey, we're putting all this money into the football program. Coach Stoops is getting some money there. And in addition to that, I had the 12th ranked recruiting class. What happens if Kentucky goes out and finishes 7-5 this year? Whoa, that's not what you want. Someone actually tweeted the other day that Kentucky football is fool's gold. You see how great they are one season, they're going to fall off the planet for the next. 803-978-1832. Blake with a comment. The thing is, Alabama will get the best assistance from other teams they play against, so I think that gets them development. Yeah, I can buy that. I can definitely buy that. If you have Nick Saban's school of, or his revitalization Coach Island, where he brings in all of these great coaches that have been somewhere else, but they may not have been able to make it as a head coach, but they're a pretty good position coach, brings them in and they're able to coach these young men up. Yeah, I can buy the development part. Daniel with another comment about Kentucky. We appreciate Daniel checking out the show today. Kentucky is just okay. They're fine. Fly in the ointment like Ole Miss is their ceiling. So you think the Kentucky program right about where Ole Miss is? You think Kentucky's good enough to, all right, if they're a team that if they finish third every year, they should be happy. There's that too. I don't know. B. Bean says, Saban knows how to take advantage of all elements of the college football environment. Well, he's a good coach. And you know what? When you can walk into someone's house and say, you know what? Hey, here's what I've got. Did you watch you watched national championship game? What was it, last season? Yeah, we won that one. We played for another one this year. We came up just a little bit short. We're going to have, 6 guys drafted in the first round. There's that too. That's a hell of a recruiting chip. It really is. Now, I wonder how sometimes some of these coaches, if that's the verbiage they use. If I were trying to recruit against Nick Saban, the thing that I would use his age as a big thing there. Yeah, Coach Saban's great. Got a lot of respect for him, but the average life expectancy for a male in the United States of America is 78 years old. Coach Saban is 70. Do you think he wants to spend his last 8 years on this planet coaching football? Probably not. It's one enough, right? There's things you can do to go with that. 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832. B. Bean says Kiffin will definitely break through before Kentucky. Do you think people feel that way because of Lane Kiffin and the fact that he's been able to develop a quarterback in Matt Corral, and Coach Stoops builds his team on defense? That's something to think about. Daniel says Saban is a vampire. He'll never die. Look, we can go with that, but I'm going to be on the planet of, hey, he may not be there. You can come here. And I'm a young coach, half his age. I'm going to be here for a while. I think that's the way to recruit against him. But, man, he's got a heck of a thing there with I put this many guys in the NFL, and we play for the national championship every year. That's a heck of a bargaining chip. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to dial if you'd like to join us here on the rundown. on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Of course, around the world on the iHeartRadio app, B. Bean says, if Harbaugh goes to the Vikings, who coaches Michigan? Yeah. We'll talk about that. That's turning into a gong show. Get into that in a moment. This is The Rundown. You're listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400. No, Clemson did not. Yeah, they got one running back, but he is a legacy pick. Good point, Blake. I'm drinking Sprite Zero. That's a good point, Lee. Stop poking holes in my argument, Lee. Yeah, I think it'll be Maffa. Brandon. They're hurting at running back, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know about TJ Dudley. Katusa, I watch basketball. I mean, I hate to be that guy, but I watch basketball. Dabo Sweeney did get one player from the portal, but it was a guy that left the team and then came back. So it's not like he dipped his toes in too bad. I just love basketball, man. If they get this Dudley kid, they may go past North Carolina on the and finish with the top class in the ACC if they get this Dudley kid. (803-978-1832), 803-978-1832. That is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown as we talk National Signing Day, or as some folks call it.
Well, it's Groundhog Day. Again?
Yeah, pretty much. That's kind of the way I look at it. It's the same, 10 people, 10 classes every year. They'll move around a little bit. So there's that too. Justin online says, I'm not watching basketball again. Every time I watch it, Alabama loses. Saturday, I did not watch it, and they won against Baylor. Well, they were playing the number one team in the country last night on the road. I mean, it wasn't like you were going in thinking, okay, we could beat this team, right? So, yeah, let's slow down a little bit on that. 803-978-1832. And look, we're going to cover some college basketball here, but we start our college baseball coverage tomorrow. Yes, Joe Healy from Baseball America joins us. We're going to talk about how baseball is pretty much, college baseball is kind of a niche sport. I mean, truthfully, you got one team from the Big Ten ranked in the top 25. We'll talk about that tomorrow. And we'll have other things we'll get into tomorrow. Also, Montez Ford from the WWE joins us tomorrow. So jam-packed show tomorrow. Levon Kirkland on Friday. Yep. Going to have some fun on the radio here the next couple of days. But getting back to the stuff with Clemson, TJ Dudley announces at 4:30 today. He's a big-time linebacker. If you look at the actual team rankings, Clemson could move. They're at 11 right now. If they pick up Dudley, they could move into the top 10. And possibly, I'm trying to see where. Let me see if I can actually, as I'm maneuvering my my laptop here, they could move from in the top 10 to, where is it? Oh, good. Okay, here we go. So Clemson currently ranked 11th. Currently ranked 11th in the latest rankings here. But they could finish in the top 10. North Carolina is at number 10. If Clemson picks up this the commitment from TJ Dudley, if he decides, hey, I'm going to go to Clemson, Clemson will move past North Carolina, have the best class in the conference, be in the top 10, and they may move past Oklahoma as well because the point differential is a little bit they're not that far off. So Clemson could finish with a top 9 class, and they've lost the slew of folks that they lost. Can you imagine? Man, some of these other guys may not have committed if some of these other players went there, but they had a heck of a recruiting class brewing there. 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832. Katusa says Dabo will be playing without his coordinators this year. I think he's pretty confident in the 2 he's got. So we'll find out. We'll find out. We were talking about during the break about the folks from Alabama and Auburn played last night. Justin says, yeah, they gave up 100 points. Auburn's really good. Lost 1 game all year. So, yeah. I mean, the Bruce Pearl way that he coaches, though, I don't know if that's going to be a way that's going to – they'll go deep in the tournament, but will they be able to close it out? I don't know. They shoot a lot of threes. Anyway, we'll do some basketball coverage next week, but next week's also Super Bowl week. Yeah, we're going to get into all that too. Jordan says he's more confident in Wes Goodwin than Brandon Streeter on offense. He says Brandon's going to have to prove it. Yeah. Look, I think Goodwin, everything we've heard about him, and if you look at the game they had in the bowl game, you know, he managed to get those guys up. Not that Iowa State was a barn burner of a team on offense, and they didn't have their best player. I get that. They're running back. But either way, both teams, I think, really wanted to be there. And they ended up with getting a great response out of those guys. And it seemed like they were always in the right place. The Clemson offense, though, you can make an argument that the offensive line has been an area of concern. When you think Clemson, you don't think offensive line anyway. It's not like they have big mauling guys that are just going to roll over you. They don't have that. But the way that they mask the fact that they don't get these big offensive linemen, or the way that they used to do it, is creativity with their play calling and setting up mismatches, a hurry-up style of offense, not giving the defense the time to get in and zone in and all of that. And, of course, they also had 2 of the best quarterbacks to ever go through the program, pretty much go back-to-back. Yeah, that definitely helps. The big thing with Clemson this year, it comes down to 2 things on offense. Actually, 3 things. Will Shipley has to be healthy. Also, you're going to have to figure out how to get better blocking from the offensive line. And Uiagalelei or whoever's under center has to make bigger plays. They've just got to be more explosive at the quarterback position because they just really weren't. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to dial if you'd like to join us here on the rundown. Daniel with a good comment. Bama basketball got beat by UGA. Good point. Jordan with another comment. I think some people have forgotten that the majority of Clemson's recruiting classes under Dabo haven't been top 5. Clemson won 2 titles before they ever signed a top 5 class. That's a valid point too. Tyrese says, I'm happy that Eric Kimmery has left the Gamecocks. He's the reason our offense was bad. Well, he coached tight ends. How did that make your offense bad? I don't think it was. I think that the Muschamp effect, where every offense that Will Muschamp has had his fingers in has been terrible. I bet at the Georgia facility, they have like separate interests for him. Don't even go touch the offense, period. Make him sit in a different locker room on game day. That's the reputation Will Muschamp has. I don't think that Eric Kimmery is the reason their defense or their offense was bad this year. I think it was a bunch of guys playing quarterback and no consistency. So, yeah, we can definitely talk about that. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to dial if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Of course, around the world on the iHeartRadio app. SEC classes, we'll tell you where they are in just a second as I'm pulling them up here. Obviously, Texas A&M is at number 1 in the conference. Number 2 is Bama. 3 is Georgia. 4 is Kentucky. 5 is Mizzou. 6 is Tennessee. 7 is LSU. 8 is Auburn. 9 is Florida. 10 is Ole Miss. 11th is South Carolina. 12th is Mississippi State. 13th is Arkansas. And 14th is Vanderbilt. So there's your rankings. There may change a little bit. That's kind of where we're stuck at right now. In the ACC, number 1 currently is North Carolina, followed by Clemson, Miami, Florida State, Virginia Tech, Boston College, Duke, Georgia Tech, Louisville, NC State, Virginia, Syracuse, Pitt, and Wake Forest. Wake Forest won the division last year. They consistently finish in the bottom as far as recruiting goes. We were talking about developing. Yeah, Coach Dave Clawson does that. Jordan says, kind of weird to blame a tight ends coach for why your offense was bad. Yeah, I got nothing for you on that. Tyrese wants to explain. I'd love to hear that. I don't think Eric Kimmery was the problem. I really don't. All right, quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap up today's rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. Yeah, I think Crean is going to get fired like soon. And in Georgia, you would think they'd be able to recruit some basketball players there. I mean, they get good players in football. They get good players on the baseball field. I don't know. I don't know where to go with all that. Yeah, Jackpot returns tonight. He's a trip. He'll tell us tonight how the Gamecocks have the best class ever. I'm sure he will. DeAndre Johnson, exactly. Brandon's comment about if you take out the portal players, look, I think that Beamer he knows that it's best to go and get guys that have already been developed a little bit instead of trying to start from scratch. I think that's where he's going. I really do. So, yeah. Crazy, right? I think that he's one of those coaches that's embraced that transfer portal. I did see that, Jordan, where you talk about the sour grapes. Like, really? Really? Look, and Nick Saban needs to be careful. If he's going to run around and badmouth the NIL, that makes scare some players off. Oh, welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. I'm Rob Sanders. Give us a call at 803-978-1832 if you want to talk about signing day. Brandon put out a comment that said that if you take out the portal players, the best high school player that Shane Beamer signed was quarterback Tanner Bailey, number 216 player in the nation. He says the Gamecocks have got to do better than that. They got to give him time. You got to remember, Will Muschamp left South Carolina where it's like, why would you want to go there? Now, off the season that he's had, which at 7-6, that's a heck of a season. He still has to build that foundation. Convince those high school kids to come there. And you have to fill the gaping holes that were left by the Will Muschamp administration. I sound like I'm talking like I'm a politician. But no. The holes that Will Muschamp left there, you got to figure those out. 803-978-1832. You fill those out by the transfer portal. You do. That's just the way that it is. You can't fix it all in one recruiting class. But I don't think it's out of the realm of silliness to think that if South Carolina is able to keep Spencer Rattler on his feet and not planted because the offensive line doesn't block for him, it's not out of the realm to think the Gamecocks can win 7 games next year. You can say that without people going like, what the hell are you talking about? It's not out of the realm. I only see maybe 3 games on that schedule that I think, okay, they're going to need a lot of things to go their way for them to win those 3 games. Other than that, you can make an argument they can win a good piece of them. 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832. That is the number to dial if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Of course, around the world on the iHeartRadio app. Feel free to give us a call if you want to talk about signing day and the fact that it's basically the same thing that's going on and on and on. I think Jordan earlier was talking about Lincoln Riley complaining about the transfer portal when he basically used the transfer portal to take players with him from Oklahoma to Southern Cal. Stop whining. It's ridiculous. And Coach Saban basically complaining about the NIL. Look, you have to go into a room of young men that may have the opportunity with the NIL to make some serious money. Some serious money that may change their families' lives forever. And you're going to tell these young men, I don't think the NIL is good. I don't think that you should be able to have that kind of money. Stop it. Coach Saban, I think he knows. He may not like the way some of it looks. And trust me, there's definitely probably some stuff going on that we don't know about. And there really is no real rules with this, to be honest. If the NCAA does try to put rules out, it's not like they're going to enforce it. You know, they'll enforce it with certain schools where they blast Mizzou a couple years ago because a rogue tutor actually took tests for kids. Yeah, let's ban them from football for a while. But North Carolina, they had their entire African-American studies courses set up where you basically, it's a drive-through degree up there if you're a football or a basketball player. But let's not really punish them very much. But let's hammer teams like Mizzou or South Carolina with too much icing on the cookies, which that's happened too. Yeah, let's hammer those guys, but let's not hammer any of the blue blood programs. We don't want to do that. We don't want to get offended or get tied up in courts because they've got big time money they can spend to fight us. Yeah, let's not do that at all. Daniel says South Carolina and Clemson need to recruit South Carolina and North Carolina better. Those two states equal UGA in talent. You can make that argument. Clemson did more of an in-state roundup this year. Adam Randall, the young man out of Myrtle Beach, another couple of players out of the upstate there. Will Shipley's from North Carolina. They picked him up last season. Yeah. For teams like Florida and Miami, though, they need to start harvesting the young men that are down there, keeping those guys in state, because Clemson, Georgia, Florida, they're pretty much going in there and getting whoever they want. And now it's if they want to be able to compete down there and bring Florida back to relevance, same thing with Miami, they're going to have to keep some of those young players in state. Jordan says North Carolina especially, UNC hasn't done anything on the field to have the stranglehold on the state that they've had the past couple of years. Yeah, on the field, no, but if you hang out with Mac Brown or you just watch Mac Brown and listen to him talk, you get the feeling that he cares about you. It's a very unique experience to listen to him. You really can't. I mean, it's just one of those things. Last year at ACC kickoff, he came in sporting his Jordans, wearing his suit and everything, but he's got on a pair of Jordans and he wants to tell you about them. He's in his 70s. Check out my shoes and stuff like that. He just seems like a guy that you just want to play for. What a mess when you really think about it. That's kind of how they've set themselves up. All right, tomorrow on the program, big program tomorrow. Joining us on the program tomorrow. And I just got a text message from my buddy. I'll give you that in a second. But on the program tomorrow, we've got a Montez Ford from the WWE. And we've also got the interview with Joe Healy from Baseball America. If you're into college baseball, tomorrow is the show to listen to. I just got an announcement from my buddy, who is Will Pelagic, who covers the Hornets and worked here with us in studio. He is going to be the part of the broadcast team for the Charlotte FC football team. So congratulations to my buddy, Will Pelagic, one of the guys who had to move around a lot with his broadcast career, but now he is making his way up in Charlotte. In addition to being on the air up there with WFNZ, he is now on and now part of the broadcast team for Charlotte FC. So congratulations to him. All right, Lawton Swan is next with Clemson Sports Talk. Yeah, I'm sure he'll tell you.
Well, it's Groundhog Day. Again?
I love that clip, by the way. That clip makes me really, really happy. I don't know why. I mean, it just really, really does. But Clemson Sports Talk is next. Lawton Swan is the czar of Clemson sports. Be sure to check out his show from 4 to 6, anywhere you can find it on the iHeartRadio app. Also, download the podcast. Swanee is up next.
Stop looking at me, Swan.
He is I've talked about his love for show tunes. You want to know what makes Lawton Swan very angry? The fact that we play Wordle and I get all the words and he doesn't. He spent 7 years at Clemson University to get a bachelor's degree. You would think he'd be smarter than a little old chunky guy Rob here. He's got nothing on me as far as my Wordle game stuff goes. He does put on a hell of a show from 4 to 6, but his Wordle game is not quite there. 7 years at Clemson, can't beat the chunky guy in Wordle. You live with that badge there, Lawton. You carry that with you, and you sing those show tunes you love. The ones you love that can actually bring some love to your heart. I expect you here as we get close to spring. I want you to sing some show tunes on the show. I want something from Rent, something from Oklahoma. I mean, you really, really, really need to come at that, because your Wordle game is not happening. So you need to get those lovely pipes and sing us a tune. All right, I'm on Twitter at Rob Sounds Good. Podcast is up at foxsportsradio1400.com. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'm at Rob Sounds Good. Montez Ford tomorrow from the WWE and Joe Healy from Baseball America. We look forward to chatting with you tomorrow on the Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. Hey, y'all, make sure you come back tonight for Jackpot. Let's welcome him back, all right? I know you guys, some of y'all may not like me, but everybody loves Jackpot. Let's give Jackpot a good welcome back tonight, all right? Can we do that, please? LaVon Kirkland will be here Friday, but please come in tonight, 9:30. Carolina Jackpot returning from the vid, all right? Come back tonight. I mean, I want him. He's one of those guys that, you know, he likes to know you people think about him. You know, he's been able to get past it. He's feeling better from what I've been told. All right, appreciate y'all. We'll see you later on, okay?